We have not had any heroes in Clash Mini for the last 4 months, and this season still has 2 more months, and I wouldn't expect one in update 5. So that's roughly 8 months without any hero, which got me thinking, what could be the next hero? I mean, aside from the original Clash Mini heroes like the Shield Maiden and the Wave Master, we have a bunch of Clash games to look into for potential heroes. So let me present you the possibilities and hopefully help Fan and the rest of the Clash Mini team get inspired. For example, let's take a look at Clash Royale. The first example of a potential hero is the Mighty Miner. But what does he do? Well, if you're unfamiliar with this game, here's what he does. His main attack works like an Inferno Tower, where it gets faster the longer it locks into something. Pressing this ability makes him dig to the opposite side and leave a bomb behind him. How would he work in Clash Mini? Well, here's the design mockup I made. At level 1, he will dig to the opposite side, just like a normal miner. I know he doesn't do that in Royale, but if you look at the Skeleton King in Clash Mini, it functions in an extremely unique way, as it doesn't even spawn skeletons at all. So I thought it would be pretty cool to have a hero that can spawn on the opponent's side. We can also make it faster than the normal miner, so a silly bowler doesn't cancel out a mighty miner. Now for the level 4 ability, I'll make it so his attack speed stacks up like that of the Barbarian, but up to 25 times. This ability was obviously inspired from the Royal design of having an Inferno-like attack. An Inferno mechanic in Clash Mini would be a little awkward considering how many stuns exist in the game, so I thought the attack speed stack thing can look the same. Besides, having a hero with a stackable attack speed is pretty cool, as it makes him a very unique choice for the player and gives him his own identity to stand out, making sure the players have a reason to play him. The reason I didn't get him an infinite stack is we have seen how good Barbarian and Dart Goblin are when they stack infinitely, and they are rather squishy, I would say. A hero would have more HP, making him relatively harder to take out, and if he had infinite stack, he would be broken with some heal decks. For the level 8, I'll just give him a simple death damage bomb that deals 3 damage, however it doesn't stun, but only knocks them back. It helps make it stay a bit consistent with the Clash Royale design. About the stats, I'll just say I'm not a stat expert, but I feel like HP should be a little higher than Countess, but lower than tanks like Barbarian King. So let's say 15 HP at level 10 maybe. The attack being 1 damage per second makes sense in my opinion. Looking at the rest of the champions, there is also the Golden Knight, which I have a very amazing design for. So what does the Golden Knight do? Basically he's just a normal knight, but once you activate his ability, he gets a banded dash that hits up to 10 enemies. Now for Clash Mini, 10 seems a lot, so I'll just minimize it. At level 1, he will have a super bar that once fills up, he will dash onto 2 targets, dealing 3 damage onto each one of them. But for level 4, he will now be able to dash into 2 extra targets, making it a total of 4 targets. But please keep in mind, if the other targets are too far away, he won't dash onto them, to keep it accurate with the Clash Royale design. For level 8, I thought of maybe at the end of the dash, he would stun everyone around in a 3x3 area. Now, some of you Brawl Stars players are probably smiling because you all know where I stole this concept from. This is similar to Fang's gadget, where people usually spam it after his super and it stuns everyone around him. I feel like it does fit the Golden Knight's kit so well. Now for the stats, I think giving him the HP of a Barbarian King seems fair, as he doesn't really heal with his abilities, unlike the Barbarian King. For damage, I think having low DPS is pretty fair for him, and for energy cost, I think 6 is a fair number to bet on. Now, you might be thinking that I'm done with Clash Royale. Wrong. There's one more hero that I want to go through, and as weird as this might sound, I think it does make sense, and it's the King Tower. I mean, he's too iconic not to be taken into consideration. Besides, it's your one and only King Tower, so it makes sense to be considered a hero as opposed to something like a golem where you can spawn it multiple times. How would he work is the real question, and basically here's my attempt at making it unique. For level 1, as a base ability, he should get immunity because I think it wouldn't make any sense for an entire tower to be pulled by a fisherman, knocked back by a bowler, or even slowed down by a wizard. I mean, it's a bunch of bricks, right? Oh, and also it has infinite range to make sure it doesn't move, because how would the King Tower move? For level 4, I'll give him the ability which works like this. Whenever one of your minis die, he gets a second cannon for 5 seconds. This is mainly to keep it a bit consistent with the Clash Royale design. For those unfamiliar with it, if someone kills one of your princess towers, then the king activates a cannon and starts dealing damage. But in Clash Mini, the king doing nothing before you lose any mini is a terrible design. So I thought of giving him double attack for 5 seconds after it. For the third ability, I think when the King Tower dies, he should spawn a Royal Ghost. This has to do with the Clash Royale lore, as the Royal Ghost is basically a king who died in battle. They also doubled down on this idea in Clasharama, which is a Clash Royale plus Clash of Clans comedy show. It's pretty fun and I recommend watching it if you haven't. For stats, I feel like he should have 10 HP at max level, as he should be a glass cannon of some sort. For the damage output, I feel like it's fair to have him deal 1 damage and have the hit speed of 0.7 hits per second. Now that we are done with Clash Royale, let's get into Clash of Clans. And most of you all might be thinking it's just the Grand Warden. Some mega brain people might remember the battle machine, but there's more. Let's just start with those two first. So basically the Grand Warden, he usually have an aura around him that boosts HP of troops inside of it. Pretty neat, right? And his ability makes everyone invincible, which makes him take 0 damage. But that wouldn't work in Clash Mini. At least not as a copy-paste of his normal abilities. For level 1, I thought of giving him a super bar, which when it fills up, he will make everyone in his aura immune to control effects for 3 seconds, so no slow or stun or pushback. Now for the level 4 one, I thought of giving him super, a special mechanic which will increase the max HP of the minis affected by it by 2. So if a battle healer was inside his aura and he casted a super, she would go from 10 HP to 12 HP. My vision here was mainly to create a healing archetype that focuses on winning over time. Some could argue that it could make the game stale or boring, and I honestly can't understand that. But maybe if done right, it would be okay. For level 8, I would just give him the ability to start with full energy, because I think that makes sense and would be pretty useful for him. For stats, I thought of making his super cost 5, and that isn't low when you remember that he's a ranged hero, so him receiving damage doesn't fill up his super. I'll give him a 0.6 hits per second and a 1 damage, as he isn't supposed to be a damage dealer. And let's give him 8 HP, as his ability can increase it to 10, 12, 14 and so on. Now moving on to the battle machine, or the master builder if you like calling him that. The way he functions in Clash of Clans is every set amount of time you can activate his ability, which calls on a lightning, and then he will heal a bit and deal a ton of damage for the next 3 hits. In Clash Mini, I thought of keeping his design a bit similar, but also making him a bit more unique. For level 1, I would give him the ability that every 2 attacks, the third one summons a lightning and deals double damage. So he would go normal hit, then double damage, similar to the Royal Ghost going invisible every 3 hits. For level 4, I'd make the lightning heal him by 2 HP. For level 8, I would make this lightning also stun everyone around him in a 3x3 space for 1 second. I feel like this design is close enough to the original, but also a bit minimized to match the theme of this game, while also being unique as well. For the stats, I'd give him a damage of 2, which might sound crazy, but he's meant to be a damage dealer, and the double damage of his, making it 4, will feel satisfying. I'll give him a hit speed of 1.1 hits per second. I have no idea how strong this is, but again, I'm not a stat expert, so take it with a grain of salt. About the HP, I feel like 16 HP is a fair amount for him, considering how much damage he deals and that he still can heal a little bit. Now, here's the surprise you all were not expecting. The rest of the heroes that can be used from Clash of Clans are siege machines. It sounds weird, and it is a little bit weird, but I feel like they have the potential to be an amazingly unique heroes, given we have like 6 of them, and they can provide some awesome utility as a machine-themed hero. First, I'm gonna start with my favorite concept, and it's the Flame Flinger. The Flame Flinger is basically a catapult that throws fire spirits onto enemy defenses. Here's my concept for it in Clash Mini. For level 1, each attack would leave an X-shaped lava that damages whoever steps on it over time. This was inspired from its design, since when it throws a fireball, then a small circle of fire spirits will be left there for a while, damaging nearby stuff. Now for level 4, I want to give it the ability of like the Shy Guy ability. This ability makes it so if there was no close ally mini around it, she would get a boost in attack speed. This might seem similar to the baby dragon design from Clash of Clans, but that was not where I got the design from. The reason I gave it this ability is because in Clash of Clans, it has a very slow hit speed, so most strategies put it on its own side, so other units don't destroy its target and make it retarget so often. For level 8, the ability would be to make the leftover lava slow down enemies inside of it, which basically make them stay longer in it and take more damage. For stats, I'd give it like 10 HP since it needs to be a bit fragile. I want to make it deal 3 damage per hit, and have an attack speed of 0.2 hits per second, which means it can attack once every 5 seconds. That makes it a bit more true to the original design, as it usually deals a ton of damage but takes too long to shoot. The next siege machine is the Wall Wrecker, and it was the first to be introduced. In Clash of Clans, it just goes in a straight line targeting the town hall, and it rams whatever is in its way. In Clash Mini, I feel like it could probably function the same. For level 1, I'd give its attack knockback. So basically any mini it rams would be pushed back a little bit. That would be similar to the old Mega Knight Star 3 if anyone remembers that. At level 4 I've given the ability that if any of the minis being knocked back had something blocking the way, it would get stunned instead. Just a small little spice to make sure the enemy putting 2 minis back to back won't make it completely useless. At level 8 I thought of making it so whenever it stuns an enemy it gains an attack speed buff. And note that this is not stackable. For stats, I think having 1 damage and an attack speed of 0.5 hits per second makes sense, as it's supposed to be a control tank, not a damage dealer. For HP, I feel like 20 HP would make sense considering how slow it would be and how low of a DPS it has. After the Wall Wrecker, we have the Battle Blimp. The way it works is it's a very fast balloon that carries troops and drop them on command or when it reaches the town hall, while also dropping bombs randomly below it while going there. In Clash Mini, I thought of giving it the same mechanic, which would make it very unique to other heroes. You would be able to place any mini you have inside of it. Just grab the mini and put it inside. On level 1, it will fly to the other side of the board while dropping bombs occasionally on the way there. On level 4, it will drop a rage right as it drops the troop down, which was mainly inspired by the way people used the Battle Blimp, since they drop a rage and pop the blimp open. On level 8, if the blimp was killed before it reached the opposite side of the board, it will drop the troop right where it died and crash down, dealing 3 damage in the 3x3 area. For stats, I think at level 10 it should have like only 6 HP because it's supposed to be very fragile. For the damage and the hit speed, I feel like giving it 1 damage bomb deploying at the rate of 2 hits every 1 second seem fair. Next is the Stone Slammer. The Stone Slammer is a very tanky balloon that drops some massive damage inducing stones, which have a splash radius as well. For level 1, the stone gains a splash radius, making it deal 1 damage to anything surrounding it. At level 4, when the Stone Slammer dies, it drops, dealing 5 damage in a single tile. The death damage was mentioned by Rudra under my tweet, and I went to check, and it turns out it does indeed exist in the game, so it's accurate. For level 8, the attack gains an Earthquake. Earthquake is a mechanic that slows the moving speed and the attack speed of enemies, which is kinda similar to the Ice Wizard now that I think about it. For stats, I feel like 20 HP is what it needs to have to be decently tanky. It also needs to deal 3 damage at the speed rate of 0.4 hits per second. Next one is the Siege Barracks, and what it does is it deploys a P.E.K.K.A. and a bunch of wizards. To make it more interesting in Clash Mini, I thought of this. Let's make it so it has a capacity of 6 elixir, and you can put whatever minis you want as long as the sum cost is 6 elixir or less. At level 1, it will get a clash that allows it to deploy troops inside of it slowly, with a 5-second delay between each troop. If the enemy takes it down before it deploys everything, then anything that is not deployed will be wasted. At level 4, it gets a bonus wizard inside of it. At level 8, it stays down as a 5 HP pile of wood after deploying everything to help tank a tiny bit. For stats, I think 8 HP at level 10 is fair. There's really not much more to it as it does not directly attack. Finally, we have the log launcher, and you're never gonna guess what it does. It launches logs. Mind blowing, I know. I actually myself could not believe it when I saw that. For level 1, attacks gain pierce, because I mean come on, the log needs to pierce through stuff. For level 4, the log gains a 1-tile knockback. Now at level 8, I'll give it a KO ability, which make it spawn 4 logs at 4 directions, up, down, right and left. Now for the stats, I feel like the HP should be around 15, making it a range tank hybrid. It should have a range of 4 tiles, while the log range should be a respectable 6 tiles. It should also deal 1 damage and throw attacks at the rate of 0.5 hits per second, as it's not supposed to be a damage dealer but a control hero. That's all the Clash games, right? I haven't forgotten any other games, have I? I think that's all of them. Now the main question is, which hero did you like the most? Let's have a nice discussion in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, drop a subscribe and maybe a like while you're at it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next video.